Catus, Maximus here. Got this Ratchet because I figured it'd help me see some action. It doesn't really look like this Ratchet's seen a lot of action. Action Tools was a budget brand from Thorsen Tools. They released them in the late 50s, and they're around through the 60s or 70s, and eventually were shut down. Thorsen was also who made the Giller brand. I found that out. I think Action Tools is just a great name because you can just use so many puns with that word. Like the action on the reverse is not so great on this Ratchet. It's actually pretty stiff, but as far as the actual action of the ratcheting action, it's okay. It's not too bad. I've seen some other action Ratchets where actually they had issues where this reverse lever was actually broken. So I wanted to take a look inside this one. We got a 1/2 inch drive here. One thing I will mention is actually I'm pleasantly surprised that there was reasonably decent tolerances on the anvil because it doesn't have a whole lot of play, which is a good sign for a round head ratchet. Anyway, this was Thorsen's budget line. They did knurl over the forging. It kind of like that other Mustang ratchet that I had reviewed earlier. You can sort of see that same thing where they just forged it, but they did actually put a little bit more effort into this one versus that New Britain's budget Mustang brand, because they did do some nice sanding and polishing along the column here. It just is just kind of a rough and basic ratchet. Not really quite so sure what really did set it apart from Thorsen's main line. Figure we'd take it apart and see what it looks inside. As far as the strength of the ball detent, that's not too bad. So I like the action of this ball detent. The action of this tool is really ratchet. Okay, I'll stop making those puns. Let's see if I can't get that reverse lever just to be a little bit more cooperative here. We'll go ahead and get this coil spring. I always forget what these style springs are called. They're more difficult when they're inset into a recess versus when they're completely external. When they're external like this, you can just pop up a lip and just work your way around, and it's just super duper simple. I've already measured this. This is a pretty coarse ratchet for a round head, 36 tooth, so I'm expecting some pretty heavy duty parts in here, at least pretty thick. We can see that this ratchet is asymmetrical as far as the beam. Many ratchets are actually machined so that the head can only go in one way, but in this ratchet you can put the head in either direction that you wanted to. It's definitely coarse. One reason they do this is it's this obvious, where it's very easy for them just to run a broach through, and when they do that, when they have that opportunity to run a broach just clean through, you do get some pretty good definition. Those are some pretty thick teeth for a 1/2 inch ratchet, but it is only 36 tooth. As far as the mechanism, it is just a run-of-the-mill single pawl design, so nothing too spectacular. The way these work is this reverse lever has a post. It has another hole drilled into it, and that's where the spring-loaded detent is. So when you rotate this, all it's doing is sweeping that detent. It's sitting in the middle of the pawl. It just sweeps it over to this side, so it's pushing up on this side, and that's how you get ratcheting this way. And when you turn the knob that way, you can almost see that the alignment would be right with that. So when you turn it the other way, it just is pushing up on this end of the pawl, and that's what keeps it in order. The pin that holds the pawl goes through, and then when this is snapped in, the pin's just right under here, so that's how it's all held together. It's really not too bad. It just seems like it could use a little bit of lubrication. This ratchet is in pretty good condition. And yes, I would say this is stronger than an SK. This is a pretty wide pawl. We can see that's more than a 1/2 inch wide. That may be 5/8 of an inch or 9/16 of an inch wide. That's not too bad, and it does have 3 teeth on it, so it's reasonable. So that's probably where more of the budget. There may be a better mechanism in the actual Thorsen branded ones, although they may not. Who knows? I don't have any Thorsen ratchets, but one day I'll pick one up and find out. So anyway, let me get a little lube in there and finish off this video. And here we are, got it all back together. So the only real complaint I'll have about this old Action Tools is it seems somewhat decent. I think I could find the one that was broken, so I may pick that up just to do a little video on what is wrong with the broken one that I found. But at least this 1/2 inch one's not too bad. The reverse lever or knob is just a bit small. That's probably the worst thing about this, is that is just a super tiny nub. But at least you're not going to accidentally hit that or reverse it inappropriately. After lubing that, it is definitely a lot better. Let's check the action again on this now it's all cleaned up. It's actually pretty solid. Although you'd expect that for a 36 tooth ratchet. So, that's the little video. Wanted to add to my database of all these round head ratchets. There's just so many of them. Such a huge variety of them. And this is Thorsen's budget brand. And now I've got this entry. We know that it's not a bad ratchet, but certainly not on the likes of, say, Bonnie or New Britons or Pencrafts, Mustangs, Cows, and a variety of other decent ones that I've reviewed. But it's also not the worst one in the world. Certainly is easily as good as any roundhead ratchet they really make today. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.